Section 1: The beginning. Life before the incident. My life, before everything changed, was simple, and in many ways, it was beautiful. I wasn't someone extraordinary. I was just an ordinary person with ordinary dreams. Dreams of building a peaceful life, staying true to my values, and protecting my dignity. I believed in honesty, loyalty, and trust. To me, these were not just words, they were the foundation of my character. I lived in a world where I thought people showed their true faces. I trusted too easily, maybe too blindly, and never questioned someone's intentions. I believed that if you carried a pure heart, others would treat you the same way. That belief was the biggest mistake of my life. At that time, I had everything I needed to feel content. My family, my responsibilities, and my small but steady routine gave me comfort. I would wake up every morning with a sense of purpose, believing that I was walking on the right path. My character was my pride. People around me saw me as someone who was decent, reliable, and strong. I carried that image carefully, almost like a crown I never wanted to lose. But life is strange. Sometimes, when you least expect it, a shadow enters and quietly settles in your bright world. I didn't know then that a stranger, someone I barely knew, would soon become that shadow in my life. I first came across this strange person in the most casual way. Nothing dramatic, nothing unusual. It could have been anywhere, a workplace, a social gathering, a meeting through mutual connections. Their entry into my life felt ordinary, and at that time, I had no reason to be suspicious. They smiled, they spoke kindly, and they carried themselves in a way that seemed harmless. In fact, they even appeared trustworthy. The kind of person you don't think twice about. The kind of person who blends into your world so easily, you don't realize when you've allowed them too close. I remember how my mind didn't even register them as significant. To me, they were just another face, another voice among many. But sometimes, danger doesn't announce itself. Sometimes, the most harmful people walk in with calm expressions and gentle words. Looking back now, I can see the small signs I ignored. The way they looked at me with curiosity that felt too sharp. The way their questions sometimes crossed into personal territory. At the time, I brushed it off. I thought, maybe they're just being friendly. After all, I had no reason to think otherwise. But fate had already started its quiet work. I had unknowingly taken the first step into a storm that would later destroy me. And as I think about those early moments now, I realize, the danger wasn't in how they appeared, but in how easily I believed appearances. I thought I was strong enough to protect myself. I thought my character was untouchable. I didn't know then that this one encounter would soon flip my entire world upside down. Section 2: The Wrong Act. How it happened. After that first meeting, the strange person began appearing more often in my life. At first, it seemed harmless. A small conversation here, a casual interaction there. They had a way of making themselves present without ever seeming intrusive. Looking back now, I realize it wasn't coincidence, it was intention. Step by step, they were finding a way into my world. They started with kindness, small gestures, words of concern, and a constant effort to make me feel comfortable around them. If I looked tired, they noticed. If I was quiet, they asked if I was okay. Slowly, their presence became familiar. And the truth is, I didn't even realize how much I was letting them in. Then came the flattery. They knew exactly what to say, and when to say it. Compliments that seemed innocent at first but carried a weight I couldn't ignore. You're different from others. You have something rare in you. At the time, those words felt like appreciation, but in reality, they were hooks, pulling me closer, lowering my guard. My life wasn't perfect at that time. Like anyone else, I carried my share of struggles, moments of loneliness, misunderstandings, and times when I wished someone could just understand me without judgment. Somehow, this strange person sensed that weakness. They saw the cracks in my armor, and instead of respecting my boundaries, they slipped right through them. What began as conversation soon turned into something more personal. They asked questions that dug deeper than normal. They tested how much I was willing to share, and I, without realizing, began giving them pieces of myself that should have remained private. It felt harmless then. After all, I told myself, what's the harm in talking? But I didn't know that these small steps were leading me into a trap. And then, it happened. The moment that I will never forget. The moment where everything crossed a line. I can't put into words the exact sequence. It was fast, blurry, and yet it carried a weight heavier than anything I had felt before. Whether it was a manipulation, a force, or a weakness in me that allowed it, I only know that something wrong was done to me. Something I could never take back. The instant it was over, regret consumed me. I felt my heart sink into my chest, and shame wrapped around me like a chain. I wanted to erase the moment, to pretend it never happened, but reality doesn't allow that. I remember sitting there in silence, my mind racing, my heart breaking. I thought of my values, my principles, my character, and how, in a single moment, everything felt shattered. The strange person didn't look guilty. They didn't look shaken. To them, it was nothing. But to me, it was the moment my life began to crumble. And I knew then, that single mistake had already destroyed everything I had built for years. Section 3: The Aftermath. Destruction of Character. The days that followed were the hardest of my life. I carried myself on the outside as if nothing had changed, but inside, I was collapsing. My mind replayed that moment again and again, tormenting me, whispering that I could never undo what had been done. I remember waking up each morning and feeling a weight in my chest so heavy, it was difficult to even breathe. The simple joy I once had in my daily routine was gone. Everything felt different. Food had no taste, conversations felt empty, and even laughter sounded false to my ears. I wasn't the same person anymore. The guilt was unbearable. It clung to me everywhere I went. I kept asking myself, why didn't I stop it? Why did I allow someone I barely knew to cross a line that should never have been crossed? The strange person had walked away without a second thought, but I was left holding the wreckage of what used to be my character. At home, I grew distant. My family could feel it. They asked me what was wrong, but I had no words to explain. How could I look them in the eyes and admit that I had let something so destructive happen? So, I chose silence. But silence has a way of becoming its own punishment. It eats away at you, piece by piece, until you can't even recognize yourself in the mirror. Every glance from others felt like judgment. Even when no one knew, I convinced myself they could see through me. In every conversation, I heard unspoken accusations. I began to withdraw, avoiding gatherings, avoiding friends, avoiding any situation where my true self might be exposed. The person who had once been proud of their character was now living in hiding. Hiding from others, but most of all, hiding from themselves. What hurt the most was the change inside me. I lost the confidence I once carried. I lost the belief that I was strong enough to resist the wrong. I started seeing myself as weak, as tainted, as someone unworthy of respect. My dignity, my pride, the very core of who I was, it all felt destroyed. Sometimes, late at night, I would sit in silence and wonder if life would ever feel normal again. I would ask myself, was it my fault? Or was I only a victim of someone else's selfishness? The questions circled endlessly, but no answer brought me peace. The strange person had disappeared, leaving me to carry the burden alone. They had taken something from me, but it was I who had to live with the consequences. And those consequences followed me like shadows, no matter where I went. My silence became my prison, and my regret became my constant companion. And with each passing day, I realized something painful. The act itself had ended in a moment, but the destruction it caused inside me would last far longer. My character, once my greatest strength, now felt like it was gone forever. Section 4: Reflection, Lessons and Change. Time has a way of forcing you to face your truth. For a long while, I tried to run from it, hiding behind silence, burying myself in guilt, and pretending that if I ignored the pain, it might eventually disappear. But the truth never disappears. It waits for you in the quiet moments, in the stillness of night, and it reminds you of what you've lost. I realized something important. What had been done to me could not be undone. That wrong moment had already happened, and no amount of wishing or regret could erase it. The only choice I had left was to decide whether I would let it destroy me completely, or whether I would learn from it and try to rebuild. For the longest time, I saw myself as ruined. I thought my character was gone forever. But slowly, I began to understand that even broken things can be mended, though the cracks always remain as reminders. My past would always be a part of me, but it didn't have to define my future. I learned that trust is powerful, but it should never be blind. Not everyone who smiles at you has good intentions. Some people search for weakness, waiting for the smallest crack to slip through. That strange person did not come into my life by accident, they came because I allowed them too close without questioning why. That mistake taught me a lesson I will never forget. Boundaries protect not just your body, but your soul, your dignity, and your peace. I also learned that silence can destroy more than the act itself. Keeping it locked inside nearly consumed me. Healing only began when I admitted the truth to myself, not to excuse what had happened, but to face it, to take back control from the memory that haunted me. Even now, I cannot say I am fully healed. There are days when the guilt returns, days when I still question my worth. But I have also discovered strength I didn't know I had. Surviving this pain has made me wiser, more cautious, and more aware of the fragility of trust. My story is not a happy one. It is not about love or victory. It is about betrayal, weakness, and the way one wrong act can change the course of your entire life. But it is also about resilience, the ability to stand back up even when you feel broken beyond repair. To anyone listening, I say this: guard your heart, guard your dignity, and never underestimate how dangerous blind trust can be. Not every person who enters your life comes with good intentions. And sometimes, all it takes is one wrong choice, one wrong person, to destroy years of character. But even then, you are not finished. You are not defined by that moment alone. You still have the power to choose what happens next. And that is the lesson I carry with me, the lesson that keeps me moving forward. My past is a scar, but it is also a reminder, never to let anyone take from me what I should protect the most: my character, my dignity, and my peace.